Well, I'm gonna tell you the main thing that led me to you is, we social media friends. I follow you, and I see, man, you grinding, constantly working every day, man.
Yeah.
And you're doing double. Let me not limit you, but from my vantage point, it looks like double duty. All right, you coaching at the high school level, as an assistant at Mount St. Mary's, right?
Correct.
On both the girls and the boy staff.
Both sides.
What? So that's triple duty. And then you're doing individual skills training with various talents throughout the state of Oklahoma.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, salute to you. I love watching that grind.
Appreciate it.
But I would imagine that you got an athletic background yourself, right?
Yeah.
All right. So when did you start playing sports? Period. Not even just basketball.
So sports period started early. I'm talking about like kindergarten. Actually, first sport I locked in on was baseball, though. Family side, like my family is kind of split up on sides. One side is a baseball side, other is a basketball side.
All right.
So I locked in on baseball at an early age. I always loved basketball, but I was really good at baseball, so I just focused on that. And then, as I got older, I played basketball. And, things are different now, but back in the day, we outside all the time.
What?
On the court, outside, playing basketball. So,
didn't get tired.
Yeah, right. Just make sure you're in before the street light. So,
Facts.
Everybody picked up on just playing basketball. And that was another love that I had. So, it was early age for both of them, really.
Well, now, was that Sandlot or was that organized?
It was organized.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was organized baseball. Yep.
What positions were you playing out there, man?
So, I'm left-handed. So
didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm left-handed, and I was shorter. So, obviously, left-handers are only supposed to play first base if you're on the infield.
All right.
So, I couldn't play first base, so it was all outfield. So, I started out center field because I was pretty fast.
True.
And then, so I played every position in the outfield.
Man, this brother was getting down through that.
Trying to.
And when did basketball become organized where you on the team for the first time at what age?
I want to say I was fifth grade. I played on like a little pickup AAU team.
Right.
Just some friends I knew that had a little team, and I played. I remember our first game was actually at the old John Marshall, North University John Marshall.
I heard the legend of it.
Yeah, the one that's not there anymore. And I remember that like vividly. So that was my first experience with organized basketball. And man, it was night and day because I was out there thinking I could do the same stuff I did outside. And here,
a little bit different.
Not the same case at all. So that was my experience with that. And I did that for like a summer with my friends, and then went back to baseball.
It was all baseball after that for a minute?
For a little while, yeah.
Man, now, what was that? What took you out of it so quick? Was it like, nah, this ain't really my cup of tea right now? Was it a confidence thing?
Honestly, I don't feel like I was good enough at that moment because I was so locked in on baseball because I could see the results. Like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty good at this.
Right.
And basketball was a fun thing at that moment. So where, like, it was cool to be with my friends and play, but I'm like, I'm wasting people's time by being out here because I'm not locked in on it like I am on baseball. So that's how I kind of flipped it back.
You had that mindset yourself back then?
Yep.
Man, for a fifth grade, I got to tell you, that's some insight right there.
Yeah, I already knew. I'm like, I'm wasting people's time out here trying to play basketball right now.
Man, listen, I'm pretty sure some coaches appreciated that. But let me ask you this, and where I'm coming from this, I coach basketball myself, and sometimes you can just see, I'm pretty sure you've dealt with this too, where you see a player that's playing, and you question whether or not this is truly what they want to do, or is it being forced on them by their parents? Did you find sports yourself, or were you being made to participate, whether it's baseball or basketball?
It was all on me.
All on you?
Like, no one ever forced me to take this lane or that lane. It was, hey, if this is what you want to do, cool. We support you 100%. It was never forced on either way.
Man, that's a beautiful thing. So everything that happened for you was organic then?
Yeah. And I'm thankful for that because like you said, we run across a lot of kids. It doesn't happen that way, It's kind of forced up on them. So it was good that I was able to just let it happen organically.
For sure. How long did baseball last for you? How long did you play baseball?
I played baseball all through high school.
Really?
Yep. So from, that first grade level all the way up to high school, I was always playing baseball. And then middle school, I ran track also. Yeah. So crazy thing about it, in middle school, when I went to Hoover Middle School, I didn't play baseball at Hoover. Yeah, because I just didn't do it.
Right.
At that time, you know, I'm kind of coming into myself. I'm trying to be popular.
That's
and all
middle
this
school,
other
man.
stuff, right?
That's an awkward time, man.
Yeah,
Middle school is
yeah.
awkward.
So I ended up running track all 3 years in middle school. I was pretty good. We had some good track meets, and then got to high school. Started back with baseball right off the gate.
Did you lose much, or did you sort of pick back up where you left off? You think?
So it was a gap because obviously I didn't play for those 3 years.
Right.
So and then jumping right back into it in high school, it's a different level.
Yeah, man.
You know, just the speed, the strength, everything. You know, those balls are coming a lot faster than what I remembered. You know
Right.
what I mean? So it was an adjustment period because I actually started as a freshman coming in. So, but that batting, like, whew, that was rough for me. Like, if I got on base, it was because either I got walked or I got hit. Like, I wasn't making a lot of contact with the ball, like, because it was just so quick. I'm like, man, I gotta read these pitches because I wasn't used to all that.
And were you up there swinging and everything?
Oh yeah, I was swinging. Man, looking silly, swinging at curveballs. I'm swinging 5 seconds ahead before the ball even gets there. So
just trying to hit one.
Yep.
Oh, man.
So now, that was it.
Where'd you go to high school at?
John Marshall.
John Marshall. Okay,
Yep.
okay. Now, man, then talk about what was that atmosphere like? Was it anything like John Marshall is today? Was the same demographic, same culture, same fabric?
Yeah, pretty much the same demographic. Almost exactly like it, but you know the new John Marshall now has middle school, so I think that kind of affects everything a little bit differently there now. But when I went, which starts back, what was that, 2000, so 99, 2000, I was a freshman there. So, you know, same demographic, everything's the same, you know, the culture.
I love it though, man.
Yeah.
You got so many different characters all in one place. Like you got to learn how to you gonna figure out your identity.
Oh yeah,
one way or another.
Oh yeah, definitely. It tests you in many different ways. You know, you can go down this path, that path. Like, you know, you really had to make a decision about what you want to do with your life at that school because, you know, one wrong group you hanging with could change everything. You know what I mean? So it grew you up quick. You know, going there just because of all the different, you know, scenarios that you can put yourself in.
For sure. Well, now, when did that round ball start bouncing for you?
So,
you took
at John Marshall, I was playing baseball all 4 years. I tried out for the basketball team. I think it was my sophomore year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sophomore year I tried out. Got cut right off the back. So I was like,
did they crush you? Or you were like,
It didn't crush me because, and I'm going to be 100 with you, I kind of expected it. Because I look different now. When I was in high school, I graduated. I was 5'1" when I graduated.
You grew a whole foot since then, man.
And I was like, this height is pointless now. I'm out of school.
Right.
So, like, I grew after high school. But, so, you know, I kind of knew. Like, I wasn't, you know, naive or anything like that. Like, oh, man, they not giving me a chance, you know, like how some people may be. I kind of knew what it was. I still went out there, worked my tail off, tried out, just didn't make it. So I'm like, all right, well, I did my best. I did what I was supposed to do. You know, now let me focus back on baseball. And that's what I did.
Man, now did it pay dividends for you? Did you take it to the next level after high school?
No, I didn't. I didn't take it to the next level. I was so burnt out.
Really? Oh, so this was by choice?
Yeah.
Man, listen, we only like 4 or 5 minutes into this story, but one thing I can say that I respect is like you seem to have known at every point during your journey where you were. Like this is where I'm at, this is where I ain't at.
Yep.
Right here. But it seemed like you either started or stopped everything on your own. Man. Okay.
I really didn't have any pressure from, you know, my parents or anything. They, like I said, they supported me.
Right.
You know, of course, they advised me on situations like, hey, you know, if you're feeling this way, you know, go ahead and go, you know, 100%, whatever it may be. You know, so, you know, when that baseball got towards that senior year, I was just so burnt out. Because for one, at John Marshall, we had 3 different head coaches my 4 years there with baseball. So it was just draining. And by that time, and another factor too, I was kind of doing a lot of stuff outside of school that was affecting me mentally, just being a kid, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. Like I was trying to rap, I was trying to hang around all my other friends. So you know, a lot of that played part in it. So, but I was just burnt out completely. I was like, yo, I'm tired of baseball.
And whenever this is done, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm out. Let's start this new chapter, you know. So that's how it went for me.
What did the new chapter look like after high school?
So after high school, I went to UCO. My major was education. So after high school, you know, I kind of locked in on college, you know, doing the normal routine. I stayed off campus, which, thinking back now, was a bad mistake.
Yeah.
I should have stayed on campus because that would have had me locked in more on just school part. Because staying off campus, I was working a full-time job. So, you know, I was almost living like an adult, but I was still young. So,
were you on your own, staying on your own?
No, I stayed at home with my parents.
Cheat code.
Yeah. I still stayed at home. So I was able to keep that little money for myself here and there. But just, you know, the drive, like, oh, man, I got a 8 o'clock class. I got to drive to Edmond. You know, I'm waking up. I'm like,
man, this ain't the day.
Yeah, I might not make this one.
Right.
You know, so it was rough. Yeah, typical young kid. You know, I'm not making the right decisions, like looking back on it now. But so yeah, that was my thing. I locked in on that. I went to UCO 2.5 years, and then, you know, life kind of hit to where, like, all right, I gotta, you know, some other things were playing a part in my life to where I'm like, well, I gotta, you know, work this full-time job and take care of these bills and do things like that. So I kind of strayed away from that. And then I was just working, almost like, you know, just a robot. I didn't really have too much anything outside that was influencing me to push myself to something else. So it was more just like, wake up, go to work, go eat, come home, go to sleep. Like, it was just a robot thing. It was real robotic.
Same thing every day.
Yeah. And, you know, and I honestly felt like I wasn't living life. You know, it was just kind of one of those things where I'm just working, get paid, pay the same bills, eat the same food. You know what I mean? It was just a robot thing. So the turning point really was I got a job at, I was working part-time at the church, Quail Springs Baptist Church. And so they have a gym and everything like that. So I was helping with their youth program. And this is what just set the wheels turning for me personally. Because I always, you know, like I said, my major was education. So I always wanted to have some type of interaction with the youth.
For sure. So
when I started working at that church, just part-time, because I still had another full-time job, and I was just working there at night and on the weekends. So I was helping with their youth program, which is called Upward Sports. So I was refereeing, and then, you know, with it being a church, you know, we had to do, you know, certain things as far as like praying with the kids and stuff like that. So, man, that just all started, you know, the light started shining. Like, it's almost like I saw it like, hey, this is it.
Yeah, this is me. This is my lane.
This is it. You know, like, God definitely showed me that sign through there. And what even solidified it even more is the church offered me a full-time job to work there full-time. So I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, we want you to be here full-time. So when that happened, I'm just like, all right, this is what I'm here for. This is what it's meant to be. So I took that situation, and that's when everything just started sprouting out. Like, the seed had been planted and it was growing. So,
man, that's a major key. Full time. Now, was your role the same once you took it on full time?
Yeah. So my role was pretty much the same. I was the assistant director to the recreation ministry. So I pretty much, you know, just helped with all the game day stuff. You know, setting up the referees, and then I ran the gym. And I don't know if you know, back then, Quail Springs Gym, boy, we had everybody in there for that noon time hoop lunch. Like, everybody used to hoop, come up there and hoop. So this is how I ran into so many people and just made all those connections. Like,
yeah, I think Kellen told me a little something about that last year.
Yep. I remember Kellen talking about So like, everybody used to come up there and hoop, and like in the summer, oh my God, I'm talking about, like, I pull out a list. It'd be like a 12-game wait.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how deep it used to be. 12 game wait. I mean, you lose, boy, you leave.
Go ahead, pack it up. Pack it up.
All right, bro, I'm out. Like we cut it down to make the games to 8. I put the clock on, make 8-minute games, and like
just one court.
Yeah, it's just one court.
Okay,
it's just one court.
You gotta get, hey man, you gotta get on there and perform, dog.
Yeah, and we had plenty of people. Like KD came up there. When his whole crew was here, they always used to come up there and play like religiously. Like everybody was up there. So anybody you can think of, they played at Quill.
Came through there.
And that's really how I made a lot of connections with. I won't say younger generation, but just guys younger than me that I didn't go to school with.
Right.
Like, because I'm older. So, like, they're probably like 27 now. Mm-hmm. But that's how I made that connection with them, by being at Quail. So, I know tons of guys now just based off of that.
For sure. How long were you there?
Oh, man. 5 years?
5 years, huh?
Yep. No. So, 6 years. 6 years, yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, and after that 6th year, what was it? Or was it just time for a new chapter? Was it time? Did another opportunity present itself?
So, with the church position I had, they wanted me to go in a direction of actually being in ministry.
Okay.
They
took it up a notch on you.
To continue to hold that position. And I was like, I respect that, but that's just not for me right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then it's based off of the connections I had. I received another job through the police department. So I run their after-school program, Police Athletic League. So that's my current job now. And that's where I went to after Quill Springs. I run their after-school program. I'm a civilian, obviously. So how that program works is combined with civilians, which is me, and then police officers. So, we have like an area of schools that we try to reach out to and bring them to a certain site. Like we have a certain location, we have games and everything set up. So that's my next chapter with that.
Look at you, staying in athletics, baby.
Got to, some way.
Getting them wheels greased.
Yep.
Okay, now which one started for you first? Your coaching career or you working people out when it comes to individual skills? Which one of those first?
Like being at Quail,
right.
I ran into a lot of kids with that program that, parents, they were like, hey, can you help my son do this, do that? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I help him. So I won't even say I was giving skills training per se. I was kind of just helping out because I didn't consider myself like, oh yeah, I'm top tier doing this. I was still learning, as I'm teaching, I'm still learning. So I would say that started first. And then as I started to see it start to blossom and start to grow, I'm like, you know what? I don't have that deep background of basketball to where...
From a credibility standpoint.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what you mean.
Exactly. So that was always, in the back of my mind, that was always my knock. Like, man, I want people to respect what I'm doing, But it's just the way it is. Some people don't respect you if you don't do A, B, or C.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they'll kind of be like, I don't know. Like people that know me in the early stage, like, he played baseball. How he gonna tell me this or tell me that? You know what I mean?
And that's an easy card to play.
Yeah, always. So what I did, I'm like, you know what? I want to try to coach, at a high school level. That way, this helps my credibility because, like, I've been coaching high school ball for this many years, so I'm in the lines, I know what's going on. So I only started coaching high school basketball to help my credibility for training.
Yeah, okay.
That was the only reason I started coaching originally.
Right.
Now, as I stayed in it longer, now I really enjoy coaching. You know what I mean?
Now the motivation is different.
Yeah, exactly. So from the gate, that was the only thing. Like, I was just like, man, how can I make people respect what I'm doing, and acknowledge it? Like, I'm the real deal. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to start coaching. That way, boom, you can't doubt me. Like, I've been putting in the work. I put my feet on the ground and make sure I locked in. Like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
Like, so I'm going to make sure I do the work, whether it's, talking to coaches, talking to different trainers, working with different people. I'm like, yo, you're not going to deny this from me because I put in the work way too much.
It sounds like you studied the game a lot along the way too.
I had to. You know what I mean? It's I'm trying to think. Yes, playing basketball, you pick up natural things, just natural instinct things, and you can also learn things as well to where you can apply it. So how I look at it, some people be like, oh, certain things you just got to feel for, you just know as a player. Completely agree with you on that. But it's also stuff that you can learn by watching people and someone explaining it to you.
Yeah.
And then you just apply it to the way that you know how. Like, you could tell me how to do something. I'm like, okay, all right, let me see how I can apply that and how I could teach it to, my kids. Because me and you may have different philosophies.
Sure.
But what you say, I respect what you're saying. I'm like, okay, it makes sense, but let me add my twist to it.
Got to.
So it was always that way. Always that way.
Did you ever have an appetite to instruct or coach baseball, or was that part of the burnout too?
No. I once I was done with baseball, I was done.
Done all the way.
Done. Completely done. Like, and it was funny. Like, I don't have the desire for it at all. Like,
even now, huh?
If someone asked me, like, a lot of people didn't even know I played baseball because they see me so much, like, involved in basketball.
Yeah.
And, like, the people that know me from, years ago, I'm like, yeah, he played baseball. They're like, Coach, you play baseball? I'm like, yeah. Like, I was pretty decent, too. And their mind is blown because they just know me as basketball.
Same here. Yeah. Every time I see it, I was like, yeah, brother, that's a hooper right there.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right. So people, they don't even realize that, which is fine because, this is my lane now. And, originally, that was a knock. Like, I considered it a knock to where, like, yo, I'm trying to focus on basketball. People try to pull that card on me, like, oh, you played baseball. Oh, you did this. Oh, you didn't do this. So that really drove me even harder than, maybe a normal person, because I'm like, yo, I want to prove these people wrong.
For sure.
Like, I could do this, at a high level.
Yeah, and listen, I've seen, just like I'm sure you have seen, very good coaches nowadays, whether it's the high school level, the college level, or beyond, who don't have that playing background.
Right.
But based on their resume now as coaches, you listen, you got to give them their respect.
Exactly.
It's the way it is. Now, where and when was your first coaching gig, though?
So my first job as a coach was at Mustang High School under Coach Long.
Yeah.
So it was Long. So the connection with that, how it all worked, is crazy. So my uncle, Kendrick Jackson, he's been in basketball for years, coached for years, coached at Douglas with Coach Long, coached him at Mustang. So they were doing a summer camp, Mustang High School, Coach Long, and they asked me to come out there and help. And this is when I'm still, like, doing my skills training just a little bit. At this point, so it's funny because it went in levels. At this point, this is when I'm thinking I need to buy every little skill thing to help. And,
you got to have the equipment, baby. It got to look good.
I had a million things. Like, I'm talking about everything you can think of. I bought it at that time. I'm like, oh, yeah, I need that. But now, well, I barely use any of that stuff.
Just give me a chair and a trash can.
Right. So he asked me to come help. Like, they needed some coach. You know how summer camps are for schools. They just needed some volunteers.
Right.
I went out there. He had me on the station or whatnot. Just did my thing, what I've been working on, ball handling stuff with all the kids. And, like, after that camp, Coach Longer reached out to me and was like, hey, I just like how hard you work. I'd like for you to be on my staff. Just like that, just based off of me just coming out there and just helping on a summer camp. We kind of breeze through those summer camps because you got kids from every skill level, and about 90% of them are kids that it's a daycare.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is a
daycare.
Just
bring them. Yeah. Right, we'll see you when we gotta come back and get them.
Right. We don't need anything else, right? All right, we'll be back at 5,
so. And they don't care what you do with them.
Right. So, you get a lot of those kids where this is just a daycare. But I took it serious because, at that time, I'm trying to build momentum and, continue to get better individually with my knowledge of the game, with my knowledge of skill training. So I took it serious. I'm talking about from a kid who couldn't, chew gum and walk, but I'm still like, hey, let's work on this. I'll probably use triple threat. And he saw that, and I didn't know he was watching, but it's like they say, you got to work hard no matter if someone's watching or if someone's not watching.
Right.
And it paid off for me. He hit me up that following week, was like, hey, I want you on my staff. And that's how it went from there.
Wow. And that wasn't even your intention, really, was it?
Nope. Not at all.
Man.
Of course, I wanted, like I told you, I wanted to get into coaching, but I didn't know how I was going to get into it, obviously. And that just happened, just by me working hard, continue to, keep my nose in it and stay down.
You remember what year that was? Or how old you were?
2015.
Man, 6 years ago.
Yeah,
so
2015.
Yeah, you good and grown by this point.
Yep. Yeah, I'm older. Yeah. So
what was your role when you got in there? What did he have for you?
So obviously, I was third assistant because my uncle was first assistant, which he was pretty much, he had been with Coach Long for so long, like he played for him.
Oh yeah, one of those.
Yeah. So he had played for him, and so he already knew what to do. And so I was third assistant. I'm still working with the guards, doing things like that. And at that point, I'm kind of just whatever he needed me to do. From hey, I need you to get out here and play today, play with them.
Moving it up.
I need you to guard, whatever it may be. I was locked in for whatever he needed me to do at that moment. So that was 2015. So I was just there to help with the guards, continue, to get my knowledge off of, arguably one of the greatest coaches in Oklahoma, and just learn from him. So that was big for me. Big for me.
What did it take a minute for you to establish that rapport with the guys coming in?
Man, what's crazy? It didn't.
Oh, that's big.
They respected me from the gate, because I wasn't in there trying to be something I wasn't.
That's major key right there.
Yeah, because we're both younger coaches, you know what I mean. So we connect with them on a different level, where they looked at me. Now, don't get me wrong, they respected me as a coach, but they also looked at me as like a homeboy. Yep. Oh yeah, coach, hey, blah blah blah. We talking about music, we talking about whatever it may be.
Right.
So they had that respect to where they knew they could keep it real with me and talk to me like I'm one of them, but at the same time they knew practice, games, whatever it may be, I'm still their coach.
Yeah. And
they gave me that respect. So it wasn't hard at all. I'm talking about from the gate, it was always respect.
They knew where that line was, huh?
Yep, exactly.
That's big. And you were there for?
So, year and a half, because that first year, the second year, I stayed. Coach Long left the second year.
You got a title.
My second year. He had already been there for, I think they had been there for 4 years. 4 years, and of course they won a state title. So they won a state title the year before I got there. And then when his son graduated, Jacoby Long, which was 2016, I think.
Big lefty.
Yeah, So coach decided to, step away. And I was still working there as a coach. But just the new change that they had coming in, it just wasn't the same for me. It wasn't no knock on who they brought in or anything like that. Just I was so accustomed to how Coach Long ran things and how everything went with them,
right,
that it just didn't feel right.
I understand.
So I stepped away from Mustang. So I was there for a year and a half, and during that process, which a lot of people didn't know, I had just found out I had been diagnosed with cancer.
Had no clue about any of that, bro.
Yeah. So,
wowzers.
So that year.
That's tough as hell.
Yeah. So that year, I found out in July. So that was 2015. So I found out in July that I had cancer, and I'm starting my first year there in August, obviously. But we had been doing stuff over the summer. So that camp was in June or something like that. Found out I had cancer that July. So I had my surgery and everything like that. It was able to be removed. Did radiation. So here's the crazy part. So a lot of people don't realize we had practice, every day. I had radiation for 2 months, 6 or 7 weeks, something like that. Every single day. I'm going to practice, getting ready for games, everything. Like I had radiation in the morning every day.
Just battling through it.
Just and I don't want to. Radiation is radiation. It affects people completely different. You know what I mean? I was in a good situation to where the doctors told me because of my younger age, it helped me fight through it. Now it was good days and it was bad days because radiation is supposed to completely drain your energy, make you tired. So yeah, I was tired a lot of days, but man, I was just so focused on my goal to continue to get better and just pushing forward. So that was a big situation for me, like dealing with that just out of nowhere, because it just happened out of nowhere. Like,
man, were you ailing at all?
Man,
yeah. Well, what ended up sending you in?
Dog, I just went to the dentist just for a normal checkup.
That's literally on some humbug.
Just for a normal checkup, because the cancer, I had a tumor. It was in the roof of my mouth, and I went in there, normal checkup, cleaning, nothing. The dentist, Dr. Cash, I want to shout him out because he's the reason that all this happened, because he, noticed it, but he saw it. He thought it was just abscess.
Right.
So gave me some what's the medicine? Amoxicillin.
That's a lot of syllables right there.
Yeah. Gave me that. Was like, all right, well, take this, come back, in a week. It should be down, because he wanted to look at it again. So I go back in a week. He's like, oh man, it didn't really go down. So I'm gonna double your prescription, but I also want you to go to another dentist so he can take a sample of it, just to make sure it's nothing, cancerous. I'm like, all right, cool. At this point, I'm not worried. Just how I'm wired, like, I'm like, okay, cool, all right, that's what we gotta do. So I go out to the other dentist, take a sample of it, comes back negative, nothing. I'm like, cool, all right. So back to, what's going on in my life.
Doesn't sound like you were too worried about anything at all.
Wasn't at all. Like, dentist calls me back, just like intuition, I guess. He's like, hey, I want you to come back out. I want to take a bigger sample. I'm like, all right. Took a bigger sample. Boom. Came back cancer. So at that moment, I'm just like, all right. So what we do now? I'm just like, what's the next step? I'm not, I didn't get down. I called my wife. She was my wife at the time, but I called and talked to her about it. And I was like, yo, so this is what happened. She's like, typical woman. Like, what?
Did she get rattled a little bit?
Not too much, because how I am. She knows I'm kind of just laid back on that type of stuff. Like, if it's something we can do, we're going to do it. So they immediately sent me to a head and neck surgeon. He's like, all right, well, we want to have a surgery in like 2 weeks. It may have been shorter than that. But I was like, okay, cool. He's like, I'm going to take this. You're going to have a surgery. We're going to do this. They explained everything. We're going to be able to remove it. And then you're going to have radiation. So first surgery lasted 5 hours. They removed it. I was down for maybe a couple days. Like, I was ready to get out of that hospital. I was ready to go.
I can only imagine, man.
So obviously after the surgery, you have to heal before you can start your radiation. So that the surgery took place in July. So August, I think I didn't start my radiation for like 3 months after, if I'm not mistaken. So right in the thick of basketball starting up, basically. You know what I mean?
Hold on. Whether I'm assuming, this may be a goofy question, but did anybody know, or did you keep it close to the vest?
Few people knew.
Okay.
Well, no, I did tell people, because at that time, I had a lot of people that was in my corner, like, and they helped us out with that whole situation by just, just sending good well wishes and things like that. So yeah, I didn't tell people because it wasn't anything that I was, some people go through certain things they don't want people to know,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel that way because I felt like I was gonna bounce back, have the surgery, cool, I'm gonna get back to doing what I do.
Yeah.
So, and that was pretty much it. But so I had to heal, for the 3 months, and then I started my radiation. And the radiation, so it affects people differently. It was hard on me, like the first 2 weeks, I would say.
Yeah.
And then the latter part, it got easier. So just to put you in a mind frame real quick, radiation is basically like getting a sunburn on the same spot every day.
Mm.
So I don't know if you ever seen an MRI machine, but basically that was the type of radiation machine I was in, to where I would go into a little bubble area and I had a mask. It was almost like a mesh mask that they put on my face. Like it was tight to where I couldn't move, and I have a big mouthpiece. So I had to put the mouthpiece in because the radiation was focusing on the inside of my mouth, and the mouthpiece was to protect my tongue from the radiation. So I'll be in there, like laid down. I go in, boom. I sit in there maybe it's probably like 5 minutes, but it seemed like an hour.
Right.
Right.
Had to sit still too.
Yeah, I can't move. So the spot that the radiation was focusing on was the back part. So basically, say this is my mouth.
Right.
The radiation was here. So every time I had to do the radiation, I have to open my mouth to fit that mouthpiece in so the radiation can be here. So as you would know, this starts getting sensitive.
Uh-huh.
So it develops a sore, just from that radiation every day. First 2 weeks, rough, to where I'm in there when it's time, because like they put me in there, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, no, I do not feel like putting this mouthpiece in, because I already knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So just think, you have a scab right here, and when you open it,
oh, it's going to stretch.
Oh. So that's what I was dealing with that first 2 weeks.
As far as giving a visual, that was a great description, by the way.
Yeah.
I got to give you credit on it.
That's exactly what it was, So that first 2 weeks was rough, as far as the actual radiation, because, it was just rough on me. You'll be in there, and sometimes I could, mentally, sometimes I could be good. And some days it was just hard,
Yeah.
I get in there and start tripping out, and they have to pull me out the machine,
Yeah.
Just because.
Just to settle you down.
Yeah, like, all right, just relax. And so, I kind of talked myself through it because, obviously couldn't nobody come in there with me. But after that, I got used to it. Like,
Sure.
I was just like, all right, I got to push through. Also, which I hated, which, like, if I see pictures from then, I get mad.
Mm.
So during the radiation, it was giving me a tan, like, just in this area. And I still a little bit there to this day, but just right here.
Yeah, so my boy running around two-tone.
I was so black. Like, I'm dark skinned as it is.
Right.
But I remember I remember one of my players, it was funny. I was at practice. He's like, Coach, why you got makeup on? He thought I had black makeup on. Like, that's how much, like, it changed my skin.
Kids don't be doing nothing.
Man, I know. I just looked at him like, nah, man. I don't have no makeup on.
So you didn't let the players know?
The players knew.
The players knew. So that mean the staff knew too.
Yeah,
Cool.
The players knew.
But so it sounds like you didn't really miss a whole lot though. Your availability was pretty solid, pretty steady.
I didn't miss anything until
That's commitment, man.
So this is the crazy part. So remember, this is October, November, December.
Right in the thick of it.
Right in the thick of it. Come February, because that time I'm doing my checkups.
Right.
February, come to find out, they came back. right. End of February.
Come on, man.
So what it was, it necessarily didn't come back. So when the doctor gave me my first surgery, he actually left some of the roof of my mouth, which is the hard palate. He left some of it in there thinking that the radiation would kill off the rest of, what's left of the cancerous cells.
Right.
Didn't happen that way. So I ended up having to have a second surgery and now we're in playoffs. So I found out like that late February.
Like now.
Yeah,
Jeez.
exactly. Late February. And of course, 6A. So the boys are about to go to Tulsa to play PC North. I remember specifically. The doctor was like, he told me, he's like, okay, we gotta have a surgery. So I'm like, well, shoot, we got playoffs this week. I'm like, okay, next week. He's like, no, tomorrow. I was hot.
Oh my goodness.
You see how my mind is. I'm not even worried about the surgery. I'm mad because I'm about to have to miss this game.
Exactly, man.
Right.
Exactly.
First round of playoffs, tough game.
Here's how crazy it is. Everybody would understand.
Yeah.
But it's a you thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we got to have it tomorrow. So I'm hot. I tell Coach Long and all them, of course, he's like, man, you crazy. Go have that surgery, So
messing around.
I have the surgery. I want to say it's a Tuesday. Me and him talk. I think I have the surgery maybe Thursday. I have it at Thursday. Yeah, I had it Thursday. Friday, they let me out the hospital. I got out early. We won that game on Friday against PC North, I believe, and we had to play Saturday. Why did I drive to Tulsa that Saturday?
You had to do it. I got to be there. I missed one. I ain't missed two.
Everybody's will. Like, no, stay here. You good. I'm fine. Like,
I ain't built like that. I'm going.
And this surgery actually was longer than my first surgery. This surgery was like 6.5 hours. But I didn't have to stay in the hospital that long. It was just one day and they let me out. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to our game. We played Norman North. I remember.
Were you feeling okay, or were you?
I was good.
Okay.
I was good. Like, I drove, down to Tulsa. The players didn't know I was coming.
Oh yeah.
Emotional
uplift right there.
Yeah. So I get there, I walk in, everybody hyped. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So, everybody on my family, everybody was mad that I went, but I had to be there. And it made it even more, like, it was a big deal because I was watching the PC North game online, and like the announcers had said something about me, and Coach Long had made a big speech. So it was emotional for me. I'm like, man, that means a lot.
Yeah.
That they're thinking about me still, and I'm not there. So I'm like, man, I got to get there. So I made it. I went there right after 6.5 hour surgery, 1 day rest. I'm driving to Tulsa, to ORU, so I can be there.
Man, that's huge, brother. And it forces me to think about, the way we communicate with our youngsters these days. Because I'm pretty sure you've been at this crossroads many a times where it's like you catch yourself comparing your commitment to theirs. Right. It's like, listen, man, sometimes let me testify for you real quick. What you just came from, boom, to hit the road with no excuses and still showing up, and you dealing with whatever you're dealing with, and they may just skip a day just because they were tired. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or they get all up in arms because you raised your voice at them.
Right.
It's like, young fella, you have no idea. Or young lady, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So how is it for you now, having been in it for a while? You've been coaching for a while, you're more seasoned. Have you noticed your communication changing year after year with your players? Now that you have more perspective than maybe when you did when you were in the middle of your 20s?
Oh, yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And when you say communication, do you just mean on a basketball level or a personal level?
Personal level too, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And like I've always, from my first day coaching to now, I've always been, the players' coach to where, it's things where they don't want to talk about it to the head coach, but they're comfortable with me.
Head coach is always the boogeyman.
Right. So, I've always had that rapport with all of the players, from the girl side to the boy side, you know. It's things they're just completely comfortable with talking to me about. Some things that are basketball related, some things that have nothing to do with anything.
Right.
They're cool with telling me about it. Like, all right, like on the girl side, I'm like, oh, okay, well, boy advice, huh? Okay, this is what you need from me? Like, all right, I'll help you with this one.
I got you right.
I got you just a little bit. So, yeah, the communication part, I personally feel like it hasn't changed in that aspect of it because I've always been that coach that players can come to and talk to about anything.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this only your second stop as a coach, being in Mount St. Mary's?
So Mustang and Mount St. Mary are my only 2 spots.
Okay, and you got to Mount St. Mary's. And
so I've been there. This is my 4th year.
4th year at Mount St. Mary, working with Brandon Jackson.
Yep.
Right?
So
how did y'all link up?
My first year there, Kellen McCoy was the head coach.
That was his last year, wasn't it?
Yep. That's who brought me on was Kellen. Obviously, me and Brandon have had a relationship before here because of his RSE days, AAU days, him being a coach. So I've been knowing him for a little while. But Kellen brought me in. And like you said, that was his last year at Mount St. Mary. And then, obviously, we were in the in-between part when Kellen left to go to Norman North because we was like, all right, we going to go. Mm-hmm. But they offered Brandon the job. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay here with B. Mm-hmm. Just because
help him find his footing.
Yeah, the proximity of things, where everything was set up, the closer, how Mount St. Mary is like 2 minutes away from my job. Like it was just a better fit.
Yeah,
and it wasn't. And I love Kellen to death because he always looks out for me, no matter what the situation is. But just at that time, them hiring Brandon, I'm like, okay, well, this is a good fit for me also.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you already knew it.
Yeah, I've already been around Brandon for this many years or whatever, and so it wasn't a thing that we didn't want to go with Kellen.
Yeah,
because had them not offered Brandon a head coaching job, we'd probably be at Norman North.
Right.
So that's just how it played out, and it played out for the best for all of us.
Man, how did the opportunity get brought to the both of you from your vantage point to coach both programs, the boys and the girls? Because to me, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but to me that's super fascinating because I look at that as unconventional unless you're at one of the smaller schools. Yeah. And the people call 4A small schools, but in my mind, 4A ain't small, man.
No, these 4A schools are competing with 5 and 6A teams, on a regular basis.
Regular basis?
Yeah. But from my end of it, Brandon had talked to me about it, the opportunity. It's like, what do you think about coaching girls and boys? I was like, I was kind of just sitting there. I'm like, I don't know.
What had you hung up about it?
I had never coached girls before.
Oh, okay. Makes perfect sense now.
I never coached girls before.
Gotcha.
So, I know there's a different dynamic to that. Mm. So, when he told me, he's like, we're going to do it. I'm like, cool. And we just locked in on it. It was never any type of doubt about it to where, like, if we can do it. Because, we both look at it this way. I'm like, yo, we in the gym 24/7 as it is. Mm-hmm. We're just going to have back-to-back practices. Like, it's not a big deal, So we never looked at it like, oh, man, this is going to be taxing. Like, yo, the type of people that we are, we're always in the gym as it is. So it's like, all right, we just add girls now. Like, that's not going to take any less hours of us being in the gym. We're already going to be here. So it was a positive thing. And my first initial, and I don't know if you're going to ask that question, but my first initial, interaction with it is girls basketball, or just girls in general. They're so literal with everything. I
swear, you're right. I was going there.
Yeah, they're so literal with everything.
Very.
I'm like, hey, go right. All right, I'm going to go right. But regardless of all 25 people are on the right side. Well, Coach, you said go right. I'm like, yes, I did, but make the adjustment, because it's not open anymore.
That's right.
So it's one of those things. And
they're going to do exactly what you tell them.
Exactly.
The very next possession, too, by the way, Coach.
Exactly. Yep. They're going to pass that ball no matter who's standing there, But it's been a good thing. And my one takeaway from girls basketball is just my personal takeaway. I wish girls basketball, which is girls, period, were able to play pickup more often.
Yeah.
I wish they were able to play pickup basketball more often to where they could pick up on those natural instinct things, just understanding. Because, with boys, we hoop 24/7 all the time. Yeah. So it's things they just pick up by playing. You don't ever hear girls just having a pickup run.
Not very often.
It's not often at all. So I think that's why, to me, when girls are really good, it's a big separation. Mm-hmm. You can see the ones who are really good, and you can see the ones, that play, They just play with their school and stuff
seasonally.
like that. Yeah, that's why it's such a big gap to me, is because those ones that are able just to go out there and play, most likely they're playing pickup somewhere, or had an older brother that brought them to the gym and things like that. So that's been my biggest pickle. I just wish it was something set up to where girls could play pickup more often.
And I think on the flip side, I think boys take longer to buy in. I think they take longer to trust.
Yeah.
It's like they get improvisational quick. They you try to teach them the base set, and it's like in their mind, I got it.
Yep.
And then go out there and just start going off script. And I'm like, listen, brother, you got to do it the base way first, and then we can look at some other stuff. They're touching the stove right out of the gate, man. Right.
Because I think also with girls, they don't always have athleticism to fall back on.
True.
Like with boys, they're like, oh well, I can do this, I can do that because I'm a crazy athlete. So, they kind of just sometimes can go through the motion. But girls are like, hey, I don't have this great athleticism, so I got to make sure I'm super detailed at what I do.
Right. Now, back on the court from a workout standpoint, all right? World One Skills.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about it.
So, the name, I'll break it down this way. The name.
I've been curious about the name for some months, man. So I'm glad we're here.
The funny part, so the world part, when I was in high school, a good friend of mine, Phil, he's like, man, you're going to be world famous.
Okay.
Exactly how it went. It always say, it's not a real nickname if you give it to yourself.
That's right.
So,
self-proclaimed.
It was one of those things. He's like, man, you're going to be world famous. And number one, I've always been number one when I play sports. That was my number. And so it was part of that. And then my grandfather, he used to always be like, world. Like when he would see me, he'd be like, world. Like he would call me that, literally. He'd be like, world. So I'm like, okay. So I just tied all that in. I was like, world, I want to be world famous, for doing this. So world, I've always been number one, and I'm doing skill development. There's the name.
Bingo.
Yep.
Didn't take a whole lot to get there.
Not too much work behind it.
As far as your clientele, how does it do they come to you, or are you reaching out?
So, which I've never reached out to anyone. Not saying it like that, but like,
I think it's more organic when it doesn't happen that way.
People reach out all the time and want to communicate. And so, like everyone, they've all reached out to me. Of course, it's been like, some people that knew me. Like, hey, I'm going to send this person to you. It's all about, communication and, just word of mouth. Word of mouth is what I'm looking for. Just word of mouth. So that's how that's all been.
And then we got that big vehicle that we call social media too, man.
Yes. But I personally think word of mouth is bigger. The social media is good for visual. It's good for looks. You know what I mean? Like, it's good for people to see you out here. That brings in, from my experience, social media brings in a lot of inquiries. Yeah. Not necessarily a lot of follow-ups.
I get you.
You know what I mean? I get a lot of people asking about stuff, or like, oh, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. But the follow-up side isn't that high off of social media. It's more so, word of mouth. Like when someone texts me or emails me, I pretty much know that's going to be locked in. But
a DM, not quite the same.
No, a DM is, they just talk.
I feel it. I feel it. That's right. I'd say that's pretty accurate. And when you get a kid in here and you're working with him, or you're working with her, are you pretty much making your own diagnosis on where we're gonna go from here, or or is it a situation where they're telling you, hey, coach, I would like to add this to my package?
So depending on the age and the skill level, obviously, I kind of have a base workout to where I kind of can see everything, like just have something set up to where I'm able to look at footwork, I'm able to look at their shot, so different things like that. And as we progress, a lot of the kids too, I try to go watch them play.
Yeah.
I try to go to some of their games, especially like AAU stuff with the younger kids and high school kids. I've typically already seen them play. And, sometimes people come to me with the list, like, I want to make sure I work on this. I want to make sure I work on that. I'm like, okay, cool. But in order for you to get this, based off of what I've seen, we need to do this first.
Fact.
You know what I mean? Like, You want to be like, oh, yeah, I want to be able to, take somebody off the bounce. I'm like, okay, that's cool. but we got to work on your footwork first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean?
Foundation.
We got to work on these things before we can get to that level. So, you know, it's a breakdown. You know, every kid is different. Every training session is different. Nothing is really the same with anybody. And, you know, I've had the experience of being around trainers to where I've taken things from, I've learned things from. Like, you know, Tim Martin, I work with him. Irv Rowland, who's a good friend of mine. I've been with him plenty of times where I'm able to learn different things and see it from those guys' eyes also. You know, Irv's been in the NBA forever.
Right.
So, you know, things that he know and things that he explains, I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know
He's definitely on my hit list, by the way.
Yeah. You know, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that at all. So
right.
I'm able to look at different things that way.
For sure. Now, what are your rules as it pertains to whether it's one-on-ones or in groups? Because I know I've heard, you know, through people that are in the space similar to the work that you do, it gets a little touchy whenever you start adding people. Or,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's funny because just about 90% of the people that I work out, they all want one-on-one.
Yeah.
If I do a group, I always try to make sure it's the same skill level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when it's someone that's like, hey, can we do this time? Like, hey, well, I have another person that I can add, you know, to help. And so I always try to make sure the skill level is the same. And then, you know, the workout, it'll be a little bit easier because I'm like, okay, well, I know I don't have to slow down to where I'm like, I'm showing this person this one thing, but I'm having to break it down a little bit more for this other kid because they don't really know yet. Right. So I always try to keep it at the same skill level as far as, you know, the sessions that I book. But, you know, you have group sessions. That's just something you got to deal with. Everybody's not going to be on the same skill level.
Right.
So the drills will change. You know, the things that I'm going over are going to change. Obviously, you know, it's going to be detailed, but I still got to make sure I'm able to connect with those kids that's not that advanced also.
For sure. Man, listen, you've been generous with your time, so I got 3 more questions I want to throw at you.
All right.
We're going to circle back to coaching. Now, just like our players, they have their routines or rituals, whatever you want to call it, as to how they prepare on game day when it's time to get locked in and go compete. What's your process look like? I know me, just to give you an example of what I mean, I like to duck off in my office if I can. Okay. You know, it's hard because, in my opinion, something always happens that's different from what usually happens on a game day.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to lock in my zone, get my music on, or watch my podcast, whatever. And people coming in, they want stuff, they want to, and you love them, but it's like I ain't even hearing you right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So what's your process of preparation?
So my whole preparation, I'm real meticulous about this. What I'm wearing for that game day.
Yeah.
So I'll spend probably 30 minutes just ironing, but I'm ironing the same thing. It's because I'm mentally preparing myself for the game. Like I'm just ironing, and I'm so bad. Like I can send stuff to the dry cleaners, and I'm gonna pull it out and still hit it just a little bit. Like they missed a spot.
I'm not a strand out of place type of person.
I'm that type of person. So that's part of it. So you know, it's just me getting my mind ready, and then when I actually get to the gym, I got my music on. Absolutely. I'm locked in. You know, just listening to different variations of music. You know, some days I may be listening to R&B.
That's me.
Because, you know, that's just what I'm on.
Yeah.
And some days I might but see, I'm big on, if I like a song or a song I'm feeling, I just had that one song on repeat.
Yeah.
Like the whole time. It's that one song on repeat.
That's all you need.
Like the song that I've been playing lately, that's on repeat is Rick Ross, MC Hammer, that song.
Oh, yeah.
That's been on repeat.
Got that bop to it.
Man. And then other times I might be listening to gospel music.
Right.
So it's just the balance of just how I'm feeling, like what I need from that music that day. Like, you know, we're in playoffs, so I've been playing a little bit more hyper music just to kind of get me going. So that's really my only thing. Yeah, that's really it.
Man,
that's just how my setup goes.
I like that. For me, sometimes when it comes to music, the weather dictates a lot of it for me. Like if it's dark, if it's kind of gray and it's kind of gloomy, it's like, all right, now I'm about to get grimy. You know
I know what you mean on that. I know what you mean on that.
Get in that mode. But all right, and you sort of segued me in a way you didn't even notice when you said the word balance. You being a relatively young dude, a married man, but you got your hands on a whole lot. How do you balance home and basketball without spreading yourself too thin?
So what's crazy is, you know, it seemed like that'd be hard, but it works. It works for, you know, the life that I have set up. You know, just because with my basketball stuff, that allows me to take care of just me being outgoing, because I'm an outgoing person. So,
right.
you know, I could be gone all day in the gym or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, you know, my wife, she's more of a homebody type person.
Right.
So she don't want to get out. She don't want to do a million things like rip and run with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to do this and still come home, and, you know, we just kind of relax and go over the day and just think about, oh, well, this is what happened today and this is what you were doing today. So it's a balance, and it works. It works for us. You know, I don't know how it could work for anybody else, because this is just how we are. Like,
sure,
cool with me being here, going to this gym, going, hey, I got to go watch this kid play. All right, cool. Well, I got to do this here at the house, blah, blah, blah. So it just works out.
Y'all found your formula.
Yeah, exactly.
I
and
dig
that's
it.
The way it works.
I love that, man. Here's how we'll end it. This is the all due disrespect segment, man. And where I'm coming from with that is, you know, I think as competitors, we can all dial back into our archives, right?
Uh-huh.
And we can think about a matchup against a team, or if it's a one-on-one situation where somebody got the best of you, and you felt like it shouldn't have gone like that. And so if you could go back in history and run it back, what team beat you in baseball at the high school level that y'all should have won? Which team beat you at Mustang that y'all should have won? Same thing in Mount St. Mary. Boys or girls, whichever route you want to take it.
Whew.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna skip real quick. I'm gonna go to Mustang.
All right.
When we were at state, we played Norman North. This was Trey's junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Trey's junior year. And man, I can't even think of his name now. Oh, Lindy Waters.
Okay.
He hadn't played that much that whole year just because of something that was going on. He came back. And they're big. He had came back. I forgot his name. But man, just they had wore us out. Like, and I'm just like, man, we could beat them, because we had played them twice that season.
Mm-hmm.
First game was in Norman North. They won. Trey went crazy. They had like 40-something. Second time we played them at home, we won. Trey didn't really do too much. Marcus, can't remember Marcus's last name. He had a good game against us, but, you know, we played good. So I'm thinking, you know, it's playoffs. Like, all right, we're going to be there. We're going to be ready to go. Just wasn't ready. So I would like to get that one back, because that's a year PC West ended up going to win it all.
Yeah, and that was 2016 then, right?
Yeah, Yeah. So I'm like, man, I wish we could get that one back. Mount St. Mary, my first year there. At State, we lost to Star Spencer. Yeah, me and Kellen just talked about this not too long ago. That was the one I wish we could get back. We just make a few adjustments, man, and we got that game.
Right.
Definitely. I feel that personally. Maybe switch the zone. That's what Kellen was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that one. In high school, baseball side had to be, we played all our games at DeLisi Park. We was playing Millwood.
Yeah.
I remember that. You know, at that time, Millwood, all their football players played baseball just for the fun of it.
Right.
So we took it serious. They just out there having fun.
Yeah, they
clowning, and they beat us. Hot.
I know you were tight.
Hot. So those are my three.
Accidentally beat you, basically.
Right.
Man, and man, ain't the trip, you know, I'm pretty sure we've all had more good moments than bad ones, but the bad ones, but they in the front of your mind.
In the front.
They stick there. Well, my brother, I appreciate this, man. It's the first conversation we ever got to have, and I hope it's the beginning of many.
I appreciate you.
Blessings to you, my brother.
Same to you.
All right.
Yes, sir.